Deep in the night, the magnificent gates of the Phileon Imperial Academy stand tall beneath the glowing heavens. Renowned as the Empire's foremost institute of martial and magical learning, its towering spires dominate the capital. The prestigious academy boasts the finest instructors on the continent and receives immense imperial funding to nurture the next generation. Because of its unparalleled prestige, people across the entire empire revere the institution as a veritable hero factory. From its esteemed ranks rose legends of the realm, including Grand Marshal Adeshin and Schlieffen the Swordmaster. Even infamous historical figures like the Winter Witch honed their deadly arts within Phileon's hallowed halls. Ronan knows better than anyone that the elite warriors from this very academy shaped the tides of the Great War. Reflecting on his previous life, Ronan clearly understands why the Grand Marshal held the academy in such high esteem. However, gaining admission requires clearing impossibly ruthless entrance exams and paying astronomical tuition fees. Stepping along the quiet forest path beneath the moonlight, Ronan carries his heavy travel pack through the dense trees. A bead of sweat rolls down Ronan's face as he recalls his sister's tearful and anxious farewell. Ronan comes to a sudden halt, resolving that he will simply prove his worth by conquering the Academy's trials. Glancing toward the shadows, Ronan remarks that he honestly didn't expect his little acquaintance to show up. Standing near a massive tree trunk, Ronan looks over at the figure emerging from the dark woods. With a faint smirk, Ronan playfully addresses the trembling boy as Aselle. Aselle steps out from behind the trunk, nervously correcting Ronan that his name is Aselle, not Marcel. Trembling with anxiety, Aselle whines that Ronan threatened to make him regret it if he didn't show up. Ronan flashes a carefree smile, telling the nervous mage not to get hung up on the past, since they have a busy night ahead. Slipping his heavy travel pack off his shoulders, Ronan announces that he needs to test Aselle's skills first. Pointing his thumb directly at his own chest, Ronan smirks and instructs Aselle to unleash his telekinesis directly on him. With a sharp and determined glare, Ronan barks a direct command to lift him as high into the sky as possible. He gives a confident smirk, resting his hands casually on his hips as he waits for the magic to begin. The legendary journey of the Academy's genius swordsman moves on to its next crucial phase. Aselle freezes in utter disbelief, his eyes widening in complete shock at the bizarre request. Stammering in sheer panic, Aselle asks why on earth Ronan would want to be thrown high into the air. Aselle gestures wildly with his hands, crying out that being flung into the sky could be extremely dangerous. Ronan simply crosses his arms and brushes off the concern, telling him not to worry because it will definitely not kill him. Letting out a defeated groan, Aselle realizes that arguing with Ronan is completely useless. Stepping forward, Aselle slowly raises both hands as vibrant blue mana begins to swirl around his fingers. Taking a deep, nervous breath, Aselle mutters under his breath and prepares to unleash his signature spell. With a loud cry of invisible hand, a massive vortex of azure mana bursts from Aselle's palms, straight toward Ronan. A sudden blast of swirling telekinetic energy wraps around Ronan, launching him straight up into the air. Ronan opens his eyes wide in sudden realization as he feels the invisible mana lifting his body effortlessly. Looking down at his floating feet, Ronan is thoroughly impressed by the sheer purity and strength of Aselle's magic. He realizes with immense satisfaction that the young boy's magical prowess is even greater than he initially calculated. Soaring high above the moonlit treetops, Ronan shifts his body weight and readies his weapon with a confident grin. Standing far below in the clearing, Aselle keeps both hands raised, channeling streams of glowing azure mana to hold him aloft. Though the elevation and stability are not quite perfected yet, Ronan feels an instantly familiar sensation. It mirrors the exact aerial levitation magic that allowed frontline penal soldiers to clash face to face against the colossal giants. He vividly remembers the Imperial war mages casting massive flight spells, hoisting him directly into the sky to battle the winged calamity Ahayute. Ronan recalls landing squarely atop the horned skull of a massive beast during the war's most brutal airborne skirmishes. With burning eyes, Ronan raises his blade high, knowing that this untamed prodigy is the exact weapon he needs for the war ahead. He remembers the thrill of soaring high above battlefield horrors, cleaving through ancient monsters right between the horns. Ronan smiles warmly, reflecting on how rare ordinary mages are across the vast continent. Yet finding someone with natural, instinctual telekinesis is practically a 1 in a million miracle, making this incredible news. This confirms that the fragile prodigy below will become an indispensable ally in his impending war against the giants. With hands still raised, Aselle trembles violently under the strain, pouring out every ounce of his magical reserves. A sharp, confident grin spreads across Ronan's face as he realizes their long-term training has officially started on the right foot. Down on the forest floor, Aselle winces in exhaustion, biting his lip as his mana begins to flicker out. Sweat drips down Aselle's face as he weakly stammers, asking if he can finally lower Ronan back down to solid ground. Aselle looks up in utter bewilderment, nervously questioning how Ronan could possibly get down without magical assistance. With a crisp metallic scrape, Ronan draws his sword mid-air, telling Aselle to hold the spell for just a moment longer. Ronan adds that he needs to verify one last technique before he comes down on his own, making Aselle flinch in absolute dread. Aselle gasps in pure confusion, nervously stammering how Ronan could possibly get down all by himself. Gripping the hilt with both hands, Ronan steadies his balance high in the midnight sky. With razor-sharp focus, he swings his steel blade down in a blinding vertical slash. The terrifying force of the strike cleaves cleanly through the empty air. Down below, Aselle looks up in utter shock as his magical connection instantly snaps. A deafening gust of wind spirals outward as Ronan drops like a falling meteor. Ronan lands effortlessly on the grassy earth with a heavy, dust-kicking stomp. Aselle's jaw drops in complete disbelief, realizing Ronan just sliced straight through invisible mana. Trembling with awe, Aselle rushes forward and frantically asks what kind of impossible feat he just witnessed. Casually brushing the dust off his shirt, Ronan brushes it off as a simple trick he could always do. Ronan barks a light knuckle rap right onto Aselle's head, telling him to drop the subject since he honestly doesn't know how it works either. Staring into the night with cold determination, Ronan realizes unraveling the secret of his mana-severing strike is just another critical mission. With a crisp, metallic clunk, Ronan sheathes his sword while Aselle whines and rubs the growing bump on his head. Ronan reflects that this mysterious, innate ability was the sole reason his blade could harm the divine giants in his previous life. Brushing the thought aside for now, Ronan steps forward, knowing there are far more urgent matters to handle tonight. Ronan smirks in amusement as Aselle whines about the suffocating darkness of the midnight woods. Bathed in the radiant glow of the full moon, Ronan's expression turns into a sinister grin as he prepares to lead the way. Turning around, Ronan grabs his heavy travel pack off the grass as Aselle watches nervously from behind. Ronan announces that Aselle officially passed the test, ordering him to grab the bag and follow immediately before the moon sets. With a casual flick of his wrist, Ronan tosses the heavy gear straight into Aselle's arms with a startled thud. Aselle stammers that it is pitch black outside, but Ronan just curls a dark, menacing smirk and asks why that even matters. High above the dark forest canopy, A radiant full moon glows brightly among the drifting clouds, setting the stage for their midnight hunt. Turning back toward the trail with a confident smirk, Ronan declares that this night marks the very first chapter of his epic tale, an unforgettable journey that will etch his name permanently into the Empire's greatest historical records. The clear night sky stretches endlessly above the quiet forest trail, bright and full of stars. As they trek deeper into the dark woods, Aselle stammers in disbelief, asking if they are truly heading for Phileon Academy. Ronan leads the way with firm, steady footsteps, while Aselle struggles to keep up with his heavy pack. Panting for breath, the timid mage asks if he heard correctly, wondering if this journey is truly real. Aselle stammers that Phileon is an elite citadel reserved strictly for the Empire's finest warriors, asking why on earth Ronan is bringing him along. Looking over his shoulder, Ronan snaps with mild irritation, telling him to stop repeating the obvious and asking if he wants to back out. Hurrying alongside him, Aselle nervously insists that wanting to go is not the main problem here. Fidgeting with his fingers in deep embarrassment, Aselle admits that while Ronan is a naturally gifted fighter, he himself feels completely useless at everything. Aselle looks down and timidly confesses that his cowardly, anxious nature makes him unfit for such an elite place. Ronan's sharp golden eyes flash, suddenly asking Aselle if he truly wants to spend the rest of his existence living like this. He cuts straight to the core, asking if Aselle intends to waste his extraordinary, heaven-sent magical gift on dealing with petty street thugs. Standing alone in the dark shadows of the trees, Aselle is struck speechless by Ronan's heavy, piercing words. Ronan presses further into the silence, demanding to know if this miserable small-town existence is truly the life Aselle desires. Crossing his arms, Ronan brutally admits the truth. Aselle has a terribly long way to go, and he is undeniably a timid coward. He adds without hesitation that Aselle is an overly emotional crybaby who trembles in fear of his own shadow, dealing a massive blow to the boy's pride. Aselle clutches his chest from the verbal sting, but Ronan's expression softens as he adds that none of those flaws truly matter right now. Looking back with quiet resolve, Ronan explains that weakness, timidity, and emotional fragility can all be overcome with proper training. However, Ronan warns with the heavy sorrow of a regressed soldier that the one thing in this world that can never be recovered is wasted time. Ronan's deep voice carries a solemn, unwavering conviction as he looks at the young boy. A cool night breeze rustles through the surrounding trees, carrying the weight of Ronan's words. He warns Aselle directly that letting fear control him will only lead to bitter regret someday, just like the agonizing regret Ronan himself had to endure throughout all those lost years. A dark memory flashes of his past life as a lone soldier standing upon a blood-soaked battlefield. In that doomed timeline, countless comrades perished because he lacked the strength to protect them. Shaking off the grim memory, Ronan asks with a slight smirk if he has started to change Aselle's mind. Ronan places a warm, reassuring hand on Aselle's shoulder, giving him an encouraging pat. Aselle's purple eyes widen in absolute astonishment as a deep blush creeps onto his face. The young mage gasps in overwhelming emotion, deeply touched that someone so strong cares about him. Ronan turns back toward the road, stating that he won't force him to come along if he truly wishes to return. He adds that while Aselle is free to walk back home, he himself has critical duties to carry out, urging them to keep moving. Aselle calls out desperately for Ronan to wait, shouting that he truly wants to change and will follow him to Phileon. Ronan's sly smirk widens as Aselle begs him to just say what needs to be done, pleased that the young mage is finally stepping up. Turning around, Ronan casually asks if they should jump right into his very first trial tonight. Aselle enthusiastically agrees, completely oblivious to the demonic, terrifying grin spreading across Ronan's face. Ronan's internal psychological trap worked like an absolute charm, snaring the gullible prodigy completely. Nearby, in the dark forest clearing, sparks crackle softly from a glowing campfire. Peering through the bushes, Aselle's jaw drops in utter disbelief as his blood runs cold. Clutching his head in shock, Aselle stammers nervously, asking if he is understanding the situation correctly. Crouched beside him in the foliage, Ronan gives a calm nod, confirming that this dangerous beast is indeed his trial. Pointing toward the hulking brute ahead, Ronan coldly declares that this terrifying foe is the best possible opponent to instantly awaken Aselle's true power. Ronan wraps a friendly arm around Aselle's shoulder with a bright, cheerful grin, playfully asking if this shouldn't be a piece of cake. The chapter begins with an ominous tone. Ronan spots the infamous Luna Goblins ahead. These beasts are far more dangerous predators. Luna Goblins have yellow skin and sharp fangs. Their greatest trait is an obsessive greed for gold. They clutch piles of stolen gold in their claws. They ambush passing merchant wagons on the road. The beasts slaughter travelers and loot all wagons. After raids, they gather under the full moon. The tribe worships their glittering stolen chest. The open chest overflows with sparkling jewels. Stolen necklaces glitter beneath the night sky. Aselle trembles, realizing Ronan's reckless plan. Ronan locks eyes with him, grinning maliciously. Ronan prepares to unleash chaos on the camp. The story of the swordsman moves into danger. Aselle admits he never saw monster rituals before. Ronan brushes it off as something heard in passing. Ronan pulls Aselle down into hiding brush. Ronan orders Aselle to telekinetically steal the loot. Aselle panics, fearing the sleeping beasts will wake. He envisions monsters waking with glowing red eyes. In his fear, giant claws crush them like toys. Aselle begs Ronan to cancel this suicidal idea. Ronan snaps fingers, demanding full concentration. Ronan holds up 2 fingers, explaining requirements. First requirement is massive cash for academy tuition. Second requirement is real combat experience. Lethal combat instincts ensure academy survival. Ronan notes that aristocrats dominate the academy. Commoners cannot catch up without extreme methods. Ronan declares they have only one path left. Real combat demands risking lives on the line. Ronan delivers his chilling battle philosophy. He points at the goblin camp as the perfect target. A massive goblin snores peacefully beside embers. Ronan asks if Aselle has any better plan. Aselle weeps in despair, having no other choices. Ronan smacks Aselle's head, declaring, "Heist time." Ronan opens his large canvas travel bag wide. A tense silence settles over the midnight forest. Blue mana drifts silently toward the goblin camp. Golden rings float silently through the cold air. Stolen necklaces tumble softly into the open pack. Ronan whispers encouragement as items fly smoothly. Aselle strains to steady the invisible mana flow. Aselle channels mana, guiding a jeweled dagger. With deep focus, Aselle prepares to drop the loot. Valuables drop swiftly downward into the canvas bag. A loose gold coin tumbles past Ronan's face. Ronan grins as riches pour into the open pack. Ronan checks the pack, thrilled the heist worked. Both heavy bags sit packed with glittering gold. Ronan reminds that real experience builds true skill. Ronan ruffles Aselle's pink hair proudly. Ronan admits initial doubts about Aselle's courage. Aselle's talent clearly exceeded all expectations. Ronan realizes Aselle is the perfect partner. A wicked, demonic grin spreads across Ronan's face. Ronan zips the packed loot, ordering to leave. Aselle asks in relief if their job is done. Ronan adjusts bag straps, urging a quick retreat. The moonlit sky above the trees remains peaceful. The quiet forest silence suddenly shatters. A black crow flies swiftly through dense branches. Two pursuers burst through brush, cursing loudly. A man shouts loudly, ordering the bird to halt. The two hunters chase their fast, airborne target. Ronan and Aselle freeze, clutching their loot bags. Ronan clicks his tongue, annoyed by the shouting. The loud commotion awakens the sleeping beast. The green goblin rubs its sleepy eyes, groaning. The monster spots its completely empty chest. A furious screech echoes across the campsite. The enraged monster roars in alert to its pack. The goblin horde awakens instantly in bloodlust. The furious savages demand to find the thief. A rustle in the bushes catches their sharp ears. The entire pack spots the two hidden intruders. Muscular brutes advance, glaring with lethal intent. Aselle turns pale while Ronan smirks awkwardly. Ronan mutters, "They are officially in deep trouble." Enraged Luna Goblins charge forward, roaring wildly. Their feral snarls echo with murderous rage. Aselle screams in pure terror at the charging horde. Aselle collapses, lamenting his terrible misfortune. Aselle begs Ronan to drop the bags and run. Ronan draws his sword, refusing to drop the gold. Ronan asks how they pay tuition without this loot. Aselle cries that money matters little right now. The savage beasts leap in a synchronized assault. Towering monsters surround them from both flanks. Sharp claws reach forward, aiming to tear flesh. Ronan notes his cheap iron sword lacks durability. He calculates the blade will break in 15 hits. Ronan counts 30 bloodthirsty beasts charging in. 3 feral monsters leap high through midnight air. A massive claw reaches down straight toward Aselle. Aselle shrieks loudly, warning Ronan of the attack. Ronan stays calm, calculating the 15 hit limit. His fingers tighten firmly around the sword hilt. Ronan smirks, saying 15 strikes is plenty. Ronan slashes horizontally, decapitating 2 beasts. Severed heads fly into the air, spraying dark blood. A severed monster head drops right before Aselle. Dark blood drips slowly down Ronan's steel blade. Ronan impales the final charging brute cleanly.